Welcome back. It's not just happy birthday, but happy century to the famed Uptown Theatre on Lawrence and Broadway. This week marked the occasion amid renewed efforts to reopen the gargantuan old movie palace that has been shuttered for the last 43 or 4 years or so. And there's a new book, The Uptown, Chicago's Endangered Movie Palace. And joining us is the author of that book, historian Robert Lurzel. Robert, good to see you.
Good to see you.
We talked before. I like to see you over at Simon's in Andersonville when there's music there. So good to see you here in the studio. Congratulations on the book. Tell us, in 1925, this week, the Uptown Theatre opened. It was an opulent refuge for blue-collar folk. What did the owners envision for the Uptown?
Well, they had this vision of people being able to step off the street. They'd be walking down Broadway, and they would walk into the theater and feel like they had stepped into an old Spanish castle. And the idea was, sure, there were rich people who would go to the theater, but once you stepped inside, everyone was treated like royalty, and everyone could take in these surroundings in the building, which included statues and paintings and tapestries and just this, you know, elaborate architecture. And that itself was a big part of the show.
Very egalitarian mindset. I have to admit, I was walking down Broadway, and the guy that had been managing the theater invited me in to go see it. So I've been in there, and it is absolutely massive. It is so opulent, as you mentioned. Tell us about the architectural styles. You mentioned Spanish, but there were multiple styles in there.
It was this Rap and Rap, where the Chicago architects, it was an architectural firm run by a couple of brothers, Cornelius and George Rapp, and they designed a lot of the big theaters in Chicago. So, you know, the Chicago Theater is probably the one that people are most familiar with now, and the Uptown was a few years after that, and it was like a bigger version of the Chicago Theater up on the north side. And Spanish Renaissance, Spanish medieval was kind of like the theme, but really, I think if you look at it, you'll see kind of a mishmash of, you know, if they liked something and they just wanted to throw it in there, there might be something that's a little more French or a little more Arabic or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say I got this Moorish kind of feeling when I was in there. But again, it was just absolutely massive. Other than movies, because we mentioned it was a movie palace, what were some of the other events that were commonly held there?
Well, when it opened in 1925, and this is the silent movie era, so you didn't have sound in movies yet, so an orchestra and/or an organist would play during the film, but there would be other entertainment. The whole show included an overture by the orchestra, then there might be a jazz band that would play. Then there would be some comedy and song and dance on the stage. You might watch a newsreel. Then you'd watch the, you know, hour and a half long feature film. Then they might show a Felix the Cat cartoon. And people would come in at various times of the day. One thing I found interesting, if you look at the newspaper ads, they didn't list showtimes.
So you could just walk in.
Yeah, you would just walk in.
It was a continuous variety show, basically.
Exactly. You might walk in the middle of the feature film, or, you know, hang out in the lobby for a while before you went in, and then you stick around for the beginning of the show that you missed last time.
What an amazing place. And from 1975 to 81, our friend Jerry Michelson from Jam Productions saw it and said, "Oh my God, what a beautiful spot for concerts." So then it became a top concert destination.
Right. So you had the Grateful Dead playing there 17 times. You had Bruce Springsteen. You had Rod Stewart. It was some of the first solo concerts anywhere by Peter Gabriel were there. List goes on and on. It's really a who's who of 1970s rock.
I was reading in your book the Grateful Dead really liked it there because it was a little loosey-goosey with the restrictions, so their fans could, of which I am one of them, I'm outing myself here, but they could do kind of what they wanted to do there where they maybe couldn't do it at other theaters.
Yeah, I found the audio recording of Jerry Garcia talking about how much he loved the Uptown Theater, and this was exactly why. They felt some places were too uptight, but the security was a little looser. And I talked to someone who ran security for Jam Productions back then, and initially they were told that you've got to enforce the fire codes, so people can't be standing in the aisles, but the Grateful Dead fans wanted to dance near the stage. So they talked with the local cops, and the cops said, sure, you know, let them do it. And they took a more relaxed attitude, and the Grateful Dead fans and the Grateful Dead, the band itself, both really appreciated that.
Dancing is a very liberal word for whatever that is that they're doing up by the stage. But so then what happened in '81? Why did it fall on hard times?
Well, the building was falling into disrepair while all this was going on. I think because it's such a huge building that it required a lot of investment to keep it up. And the owners at that stage just didn't have the money to keep making all the sorts of repairs they needed to. So in December 1981, the last concert was by the Jay Giles Band. The owners couldn't afford to heat the building that night, and the bathrooms were in bad shape, so it was cold and kind of miserable, despite the fact that people seemed to enjoy the concert. And that was pretty much the end.
All right. Well, it's still there, and I know that Jerry Michelson is trying to revive it. Real quick, it's August 18th the book comes out?
Yes.
August 18th. We could talk about this all night, but go read the stories in the book. Robert Lurzl, thanks very much. And that is our show tonight. We want to remind you that you can catch us on podcasts, wherever you stream those podcasts. Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday they drop, and we're back tomorrow night on the air. Bye, everybody.